Honorable Speaker Sir, thank you for giving me the time to take part in the discussion on matter of urgent public importance under Rule 50 pertaining to power sector reforms by reviewing communitization of electricity management in urban and rural area under the Nagaland Communitization of Public Institution and Services Act 2002, Act number 2 of 2002, Sensitization and Awareness thereof. Speaker Sir, this is a very technical subject, but of great interest to me because I have been assigned to assist the Honorable Chief Minister on affairs of industries and commerce in the state. Industry and power is totally interconnected, and I always say there is no industry if there is no power. I would like to start with mentioning few facts and figures. Our Honorable Minister Power has already mentioned in detail, but just to put my sharing in perspective, I would like to start with some facts and figures. In the year, and I would like to beg apology if I'm repeating, but I feel this is important to mention. In the year, financial year 2023-24, power purchase, the cost of power purchase was 572.26. The total revenue was rupees 244.19, thereby incurring a loss of rupees 328.07 crores. Now, when you look at the past 4 financial year, from 2021, 21-22, 22-23, 23-24, we can see that the cost of power purchase was for rupees 2,036.70 crore. Total revenue collected was rupees 824.47 crores for 4 years, thereby in 4 years incurring a loss of rupees 1,212.23 crore. The AT&T loss for 23-24 is 50.76%, and for the last 4 financial year is 55.11%. This number is very important for all of us to understand why power reform is necessary. Coming to communitization, I would also again like to repeat some numbers and figures which our Honorable Minister had mentioned. In 2023-24, out of 804.57 MU, so in electricity terms, because many of us here are laymen, so in electricity term, that is called million unit. Rural villages consumed about approximately 201 MU of electricity, which is about 25% of the energy consumed of the entire state. With single point metering, now for the communitization, the department uses single point metering. So this is for the communitization. With single point metering, the department would bill only 58 MU. So in actual, the department should have billed rupees 112.64 crores approximately, whereas due to minimum household billing and various issues of single point metering like defects or tempering the SPM billing was only 30.1 crore, incurring a loss to the tune of rupees 82.54 crores in 1 year, last year. When you look at the national level AT&C losses, in 2021, the AT&T loss was 22.3%, and it's come down to 16.4% in 21-22. That's an average, national average AT&C losses. Whereas in Nagaland, I've already read out, it is 50.76. We have heard from other honorable members. In Nagaland, as part of the power sector reform process, the Department of Power launched the communitization program in 2003 for decentralization of electricity management through community empowerment. The objectives of the initiatives were to improve service delivery, to reduce technical and commercial losses in the rural areas, to involve village community to work as business partners with the Department of Power in the management and improvement of electricity revenue, to entrust the responsibility to Village Electricity Management Board to check theft of power in the villages, to address short-term shortage of energy meters and manpower. Now, studies done by various agencies over the past 2 decades have found that, 1, after communitization, non-payment and arrears from rural consumers were reduced as the Village Electricity Management Board are directly responsible for such collections. 2, it had become much more convenient for rural consumers to avail new service connections. 3, however, there has not been any perceptible improvement in power supply. 4, many villages are paying a fixed amount for years, ignoring the increase in consumption. And number 5, revenue collected by VEMBs have often been misappropriated. And there are many other reasons as well. I want to come back to another data. As per 2024 data from the Department of Power, Dimapur and Kohima division have the least percentage of single point metering points. Dimapur has 3%, Kohima has 17%. But when we look at Dimapur, the AT&C losses stands at approximately 55%. Kohima AT&C losses is 46.96 approximately. If you look at PEC and Zineboto, which has the highest percentage of SPM metering, PEC has 66% of SPM metering, and Zineboto has 59% of SPM metering. But if you look at the AT&C losses, you will see that even under this, the losses for PEC is 55.07 and for Zineboto is 69.89 respectively. This comparative study clearly indicates that communitization has not improved the revenue collection in the state. And this is where I want to bring in a very, very simple logic for all consumers to understand why reforms are important, especially, again, from my perspective, from the perspective of industry. And this, when I say consumers, is not just the public, it involves all the 60 honorable members and other whoever is sitting here this evening inside the Assembly Hall. Today, it's a known fact that we are all concerned about the livelihood and employment of our children and our youth. We all agree that our economy has to improve. Now, our economy will improve only if our enterprises and our industries flourish, which in turn will generate employment and absorb our unemployed youth. This our people have to understand. Our Honorable Minister has talked about a lot of resistance, and I have also personally come across many communities in the village, in the rural areas, and also urban areas who are resistant to certain changes that the department is trying to bring about. Our people have to understand that by refusing to pay few hundred rupees for the power that you're consuming, that is addressing to the rural people, and maybe some few thousands, if you're refusing to pay that few thousands for the power that you're consuming, that is addressed to the urban consumers, it is indirectly affecting the future of your children and their livelihood and their gainful employment. Now, obviously, when the government is undergoing such a huge loss, it does not have enough fund to be investing or to be purchasing more power. That's what I believe, especially after I've come back, especially after I've joined the government and I'm seeing the other side of life. I want to pick up two examples. I know of a tea factory in Newland district. Every month, that factory purchases diesel for about 30 lakh rupees. I know of small self-help group in Chimugidima area, where the self-help group are trying to do banana extraction fiber. They have to buy a generator, and the little profit that they project to make is gone towards buying diesel for that little generator to help them with the machine. I was also speaking with some honorable members from the eastern side. They have they run different factories, and I'm told that they also buy up to 1,000 liters of diesel per day. And under these circumstances, it is just impossible for industries or economy to flourish. Now, if we have enough energy, if energy sector is developed, the state can support efforts for the sustained development of various enterprises. Two, once there is increased availability of reliable power, then mechanization of farming activity will take place, which in turn will lead to improvement in harvesting, storage, and processing of agricultural produce, thus generating employment. Three, adequate power supply can support micro, small, medium enterprises to develop and thrive. Number four, our state is pushing and promoting made in Nagaland products, which can be successful if only our entrepreneurs and enterprises are supported with adequate and uninterrupted power supply. Today, the biggest employment is generated through technology and IT sector, which our youth, Naga youth, are also good at. But how can we expect them to make money for themselves and for the state if we are not putting the ecosystem in place? With the power boost that our enterprises receive, it will automatically improve the employment scenario as a natural progression. With advancement in technology, we now have options of adopting interventions such as prepaid meters and smart meters in homes, transformers and substations, which can effectively address the challenges of manpower shortages, inaccurate billing and revenue collection, while providing accurate real-time information to the department to provide better power supply, better load management, and better response to faults in the system. It is a fact that many states that have improved their AT and C losses due to various policy interventions and reforms. I would like to mention our neighboring state, Manipur. With due respect, they are going through a difficult time now, but Manipur was one of the first states in the Northeast that started adopting reforms in the power sector. In 2013, Manipur's power sector, there was a transformation of the sector by 2014. They had under the Electricity Act of 2003, many reforms were made by the Manipur government, and by 2014, they had Manipur State Power Company Limited for transmission and Manipur State Distribution Company Limited for distribution. Their prepaid metering started by 2011. And today, Manipur's AT&C losses is only 23.62. And I bring back to our figure, ours is 50.7. As long as the government is a service provider, the public are going to think that this is a welfare scheme. And so the government should not be averse or be resistant to reforms. Our Honorable Power Minister has mentioned about some reforms that the department has taken in 2013. The prepaid metering started. The pilot project started in Dimapur in 2013, where about 1,000 meters were installed, followed by about 19,000 meters under IPDS scheme in 2017 and 18 for smart metering, and now the mandatory RDSS scheme. And I'm made to believe that the department is struggling because of the resistance of our people, headed by the Gambudas, the wards, the councils, etc. It is human nature for people to resist change, and that should be nothing very shocking for our Department of Power. People are prone. It is natural that we resist change and we fear change. And here, though it is little out of context, just to again bring home the point, we all know in the past many decades, our people were resistant to change. Our people could not believe that women can be in the decision-making body, but things changed in 23. 2 women were elected. After a year, the ULB elections were conducted with 33% reservation. Out of 278 members, 102 were women councillors, which is more than the national target of 33%. And these women were supported by men, by their brothers, by their husbands, by their fathers. So if something as serious as this, people adapt. Once they adapt, it becomes easier. Now I want to also assure the department that all the 60 members here are also duty bound to our constituents. In whatever way you want us, we'll be more than happy to also sensitize our constituents. The government has to do what the government has to do. But after deep studying, after doing a deep analysis, after doing your sensitization program, because all this is for the people and for the common good. Thank you very much, Speaker Sir.